Ohio State blows out one of the top-rated Big Ten teams. Now, if Ohio State goes ahead and blows out Michigan this week, another top Big Ten team, you got to continue to ask yourself the question: how good is the Big Ten, really?
Yeah.
Okay, and Ohio State's one loss came outside of the Big Ten to a team who's no longer in the conversation even.
Yep. After Oregon got blown out by Utah Saturday night. That game was a blast, by the way. I don't know if you watched that. Utah, I didn't know they had such a strong following, but their crowd was crazy.
Yeah,
they were basically standing up the whole time. I'm always make fun of Pac-12 crowds because there's usually hardly anyone there and they're pretty subdued. But the Utes really showed up.
Yeah, it was bumping, as the kids like to say.
Nice.
But I think it just really begs the question this week if this game is as lopsided as the other ones. Like, I've been saying it all year. I just don't see why the Big Ten has been overvalued. I think overvalued this season, and I don't understand.
Overvalued over who? I guess it would be my question. Overvalued over the SEC? Over the Big 12, over the ACC.
Well, I think over just
who's better than the Big 10.
Well, no. What I'm saying is there seems to be certain teams who, again, when you look at strength of schedule rankings, it just doesn't add up. Why these Big 10 teams are getting so much accolades where they have some of the weakest schedules in football, because the formula that determines strength of schedule has determined that, based on the fact of their record and the record of the teams that they have played.
But again, I'd like to know, like, what I mean. College football is a finite pool, and somebody's better than somebody else. So what conference would be better than the Big Ten in terms of strength of schedule or RPI or whatever?
Well, I think the SEC overall is
I agree with that.
Big Ten.
I agree with that. But then who? So, but I don't think there's any Big Ten school that's being overranked over an SEC team. So the beef.
But I think there's individual teams who, if you look at you go and look in the RPI rankings.
Well, this is what I'm getting to, the numbers. I guess we'd need to see. Yeah. I'd need to see the numbers before I can.
Go. Do me a favor. Look at the numbers.
Do me a favor. Why don't you do some research? Give me some numbers.
Well, I gave you numbers last week. I mean, Notre Dame has of the top 6 teams, they have the hardest schedule.
This is what we're getting to.
They have the hardest schedule of all those teams right now.
The problem is you're going to
play. And the Big Ten schedules are all in the 100s. Well,
again, I mean, I'd like to see what that is after this week. But this is where your argument's coming to. You're not arguing for any conference necessarily. You're arguing for your Notre Dame, which I don't blame you. Notre Dame's always got an interesting case. They were ranked number 6 in tonight's the actual college football.
Yeah, and in the limp.
We'll get to that in a bit.
We'll get to that in a minute.
So they're getting some respect. But I guess, I mean, your strength of schedule is really that good. I mean, you're playing a bunch of 8-loss teams.
37 because the strength of schedule is also based off the strength of schedule that another team plays.
Well, sure. I mean, that's the RPI basically.
Yeah.
So I think that's gonna go down every week though for you guys, and you don't have a championship game.
Well, they're gonna have to fall really far because they were ranked 37 and the next closest team was 70. So I mean, or 56. So like, I don't see it dropping that far off.
I'm looking at the teams that you played, and your best win is Wisconsin. You know, there's other schools, and you can make the same argument against Ohio State. You know, their best win was Michigan State right now, but they were a top five team at the time.
Yeah, with a 105th ranked schedule.
Well,
that's my problem with it.
So, I mean, should the rankings be based strictly on?
Well, when you have a bunch of teams when you have a bunch of teams that have the same record, I think so.